Hello and welcome back to the 2024 Netrunner World Championship. I am Josh, aka Orbital Tangent, he, him, and I'm joined by a new co-host.
My name is Andrej from the Metropolitan Grid. I go by he, him, and I'm super stoked to be here in San Francisco. We're just about to start round 3, and I cannot be more pumped.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw some amazing games already, and we have a lot left to go. So this is going to be quite a few rounds of single-sided Swiss. I believe 11 in total.
Just today, even more tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's going to be
tomorrow.
Grueling tournament, and we're only on round 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So over have to go. So we're seeing a lot of interesting decks in the field here. It looks like we're cutting to the table, so I'll cut that short. But we have CTZ and Captain Nice. CTZ on Shaper here and Captain Nice on NBN. We're seeing a LAT versus a Reality Plus.
Yeah, these are two of the most represented identities on this field. Now, to see CTZ on the left playing some LAT, I know CTZ actually plays a lot of different identities. LAT is, I believe, the most present runner here, getting that extra hand size, getting things down like Onicom, Stone Ship Chart Room, not dying, not flatlining is a big part of the meta. And understanding what sort of Reality Plus here that Captain Nice is on. Captain Nice, they've been playing exclusively NBN, I think, for just about the last year. Classically known as a bit of a Sunny player. Now, that's not something that might make sense to too many.
We're seeing a rip off the top just immediately.
Going straight in. That's going to be a false lead. So this is looking like a kill deck there for sure. And a Sarievna. So Oppa Research, false lead. That is an agenda that you can get rid of to remove 2 clicks from the runner if able. So if you're going to get that 4 tag, that big Oppa later on threat 3, that is just going to be some tags. Spin Doctor going down in the remote server there. That is a great steal. The question is what's in the remote server early. You're expecting Rashida, but if that's a false lead, Captain Nice scoring that down, going down to 2 credits might not be the most frightening thing here, but it's really easy to get this cheap free money. Your ice is almost res entirely for free with Reality Plus.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, we're seeing CTZ on 8 credits here. I did not see if there was a lat draw in there, or is he still going on his turn? Are we seeing him tank here?
Still planning a bit. Now, there's a chance after the Spin Doctor res that Captain Nice is going to be over that 5 hand size, so it might be hard to get it. We've seen a lot of players do a lot of stuff. There's been a lot of practice into lat there, showing how many cards you have in hand.
Yeah, so it is a Rashida.
Perfect. Great start. 3 cards and 3 credits. Now, Reality Plus, System Gateway, probably here, sometimes actually a 49 card deck, as much as you can play that 44 minimum if you want to. Some versions of this deck have more slots here. And I'm guessing the kill combination, if you see a false lead, you're generally expecting things like Mindscaping into end of the line.
Yeah, we're seeing a YDL here, so we're seeing a lot of burst credits on Captain Nice's side.
Some good cards in hand. Now, that kill combo, if we're talking about 1 tag, right? A public trail you always have to watch out for. Sometimes these games can just end on turn 2 if you don't respect that early public trail to end the line. But we'll see here if CTZ, if he can get down some of that protection that's naturally just played in basically every lat deck. Even lat's ability really matters. The corporation's going to have to get down to 4 cards in hand, generally on the turn before you want to transition to a kill. But we're still very early. Now, face checking is so hard here. All that ice. We think there might be a Sarievna there on R&D. If that's res, you don't break the subroutines. The corp reses that for only 2 credits. It's so hard to the tempo face check and force the corporation to res ice when most of it costs next to nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. This corporation relying a lot on getting those huge tempo swings. It doesn't cost me much of anything, and it costs you a lot. And potentially you take a tag at the end. You got to shake that too.
Now, Onicom coming down, that is a very big piece of the don't flatline combo package. The first time an event is trashed, and that means after it's played, it does get trashed, but if you take damage, first time per turn also means the corporation's turn. That gives you that extra hand size, which might be all you need. Self-modifying code card in the remote server after big Rashida. We may have some good options, whether it's just a false lead, or whether we're just getting Rashida into Rashida. Definitely just the never advanced threat here for Reality Plus can be quite frightening. We'll see if Captain Nice, they can push it forward.
So it looks like we saw a creative commission to end the turn. We're seeing wait.
Yes, you always want to do that check the live players. I've known this. Again, there is a really cool paid ability window after discard before end of turn trigger. And so if you can just res that Spin Doctor to deny that lat draw, you often will, because it is basically a 3 card swing on the Spin Doctor, which is a lot nicer than normally what it says.
Yeah, so it looks like we're seeing Captain Nice really dig for stuff here proactively with that Spin Doctor. Also, that Spin Doctor, classically a good way to duck that lat draw.
Yeah. Going back in, it looks like a Spin Doctor, and I might have missed the other card, whether it was a face down that's going to go back in there. Now, Nice maybe wanting to ice on the remote server. There's some upgrades also. You want to push, you want to get your agendas out. I think Amazing Amusements shows up in these sort of decks, can be quite frightening. And you also have to be a bit careful when it comes to running central servers. Oracle Think Tank, that 3-1 agenda, which gives the corporation money, and then you have to clear the tag. And things like Behold are very common, even Snare. And have you seen the interaction with Snare and R&D and Reality Plus?
No, I have not.
So the idea is Reality Plus can draw 2 cards or gain 2 credits the first time a tag is given, which means if CTZ finds a Snare on top of the deck, Captain Ice, they can choose to draw it away out of the axis, and you can't trash it anymore.
Wow, I did not know that.
It's really goofy, and it's something you have to be careful. So understanding that single axis here can be really bad tempo swings if you do find that what's only a 2-credit Behold, a 2-credit Snare, you have to be careful. And here we go. In the remote server, upgrades can be defensive. Of course, Holloman, one of the strongest cards from the last set here. This means you can actually score out with clicks left over. If you get something like a fly on the wall, a Tomorrow's Headline, give a tag and get that damage protection, or sorry, send out that damage across the table. We'll see if CTZ has the protection. Pinel finding another false lead in their remote server, so we'll see if that upgrade is defensive or just a bluff. Understanding what's on the table with a single self-modifying code and 2 ice to be res, hopefully quite cheaply. We'll see if we're going to get that huge swing. As soon as there's a false lead on the table, the game entirely changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Once that's scored, now Oppo still does have to get up as a threat for those 4 tags, but you know, you could just bleed an agenda then, and once they've scored one of your agendas to turn on threat, they are actually in the kill zone then.
You have to be very careful, mind you. It's lose 2 clicks if able. So if you run click 2 into central server, find a Behold, you have 2 clicks if able, so your turn can end there with 2 tags. And 2 tags with Mindscaping End of Line, that is 6 damage. That's mostly lethal through Onicom. Sometimes you have to be lucky, but we're charging here R&D. That's the setting that we said. Probably, you have to decide now before the self-modifying code is popped, whether you want to give the runner or they gain, 2 credits. That prevents all the subroutines. Now we'll see what the killer we're expecting here. A lot of these lat decks are on Revolver. Comes in at Strength, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, you might have to boost, but we're getting the 2 credits. So these subroutines, drawing cards, doing damage, giving a tag. The tag one really matters because it does refund some of the cost here, but those are all quite rough subroutines on a deck that wants to get you to low hand size and maybe go for the flat
line. Does it only prevent you from, you only have to let 1 fire?
You can only break 1.
You can only break 1.
2, and the 2 will happen, but at that point you might as well not get your breaker, so we're going to take that tag, that's what that die is going to be. Captain going for the credits. Sometimes you see the card draw, sometimes with your digital life it makes sense, but we're going to take some net damage here. And now the Axis means if you're worried about a Snare, you might not want to touch. Now, Onicom might not have triggered here, so if we find an event, I'm not sure if we've seen an event so far this turn, and Overclock should trigger Onicom, so you are technically safe into Snare.
That's a better card to hit.
3 cards in hand if you want to go for this Axis. Beholds. You do know Captain Nice next turn. Oh, just not touching there.
Yeah, it looks like that was a jack out.
That was just the side of the draw.
Yeah, you're right. It's the draw.
Going for a single. Oh, stealing. That is the agreement. We're going to shuffle 2 cards. Board state. Credits, tag, but not installed cards. Losing the Onicom for damage, but saying I'm now on 4 points, and as you said, also on threat 3. Very important.
Yeah. So CTZ is keeping his credits up here, though, so he can shake the 1 tag with the clicks remaining. And if he's hit with the Oppo, he can shake all 4 tags the turn after.
Yeah. We're assuming Captain Nice, they're probably just going to score out that false lead. Maybe with no breakers inside, no self-modifying code. You don't have to push it. You can pre-advance it slightly, but there's a chance. It's only a 5-credit Oppo if you go for Reality Plus and get those 2 credits back. But the frightening thing here is that there might just be 2 more degree mills in the deck, and at any point in time, you can just say, I'm sending it 1 trick shot. You find that 3-pointer. You're going to have to install a couple cards first, which is a bit of a road bump. We'll see if we respect there, clearing the tag for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The tag has got to come off, but we're going to see what CTZ does with the last click here. I do predict that false lead has got to get scored next turn.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, cards in hand. I'm not sure if you're worried too much about the remote server, but as soon, obviously, as you empty that, you can clear it out. We'll see if Captain Nice just wants to push it or wants to ice up R&D and ensure that you don't just get sniped for an easy deep dive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thinking here.
Yeah, it is.
Again, sometimes just keeping something safe, the remote server, both players having a nice laugh. I think this is the first time these 2 players have met in person. They've been playing for a long time, both of them on other sides of the planet.
So we can't hear CTZ, but I think he was pointing at the casters here, probably saying something along the lines of, that's the one time scoring a 5-3 doesn't feel good.
But Captain Nice is definitely thinking here. Whether you need to ice up R&D Now, Burner, mind you, a very powerful card. You don't often see it in Lat, but that is the pressure card on HQ until eventually DJ Fenris comes down, but that's definitely not on the books right now.
Yeah, so CTZ classically known for orthogonal strategies, though, so seeing some surprise cards in this Lat would not be something that I would be surprised by.
Yeah. I think maybe the big concern here is actually Deep Dive. Lat, a lot of the decks are playing 2 as a win condition, just saying Trick Shot, Deep Dive can be enough. And that's something Captain Ice has to be a bit wary of. It's hard to ice up all the servers, but just saying 2 cards on the table. Now, I'm not sure what that could be. Amani Sanai doesn't make sense on this exact board state, bouncing cards.
Taking one of those back, not going for that score.
Yeah. Sometimes B1001 is like a really tricky card to play around. Sometimes they sneak in as a 1-up in these sort of decks, saying, okay, if you fire that Tsarevna, I can remove the tag and end the run.
Yeah.
We're taking credit. We'll see if we get that Oppo. There you go, Oppo Research. We'll see if it's the big or the small. That's either for free or 5 credits, and 5 credits can be a fair bit. But just giving even 2 tags.
Full tags.
4 full tags.
I would predict with Captain Ice playing it this way, it makes maybe a bit of a safer line in that CTZ has to clear. Otherwise, it's very possible that the false lead is just scored, and then the game is basically over.
Clearing 3, down to 3 credits. Thinking here, now that card in the remote server that's not iced up, that was clearly important this turn. Whether that is a B1001 or just a Spin Doctor to help with maybe what's in Archives or what's in HQ, that's fascinating. And we're just going to go down to 1 credit, so tempo swing here, understanding that it's just going to be a matter of time before that false lead enters a score area for the corporation.
Yep.
Big swing here. Degree Mills, probably 6 more points. They should be safe. Again, you need to install cards.
So Oppo Research isn't something that you can just fire off, though. So CTZ could be saving himself to do 1 final blowout turn.
Yep, just 1 deep dive. That's all you need.
Absolutely.
There you go, score out for 3 credits. That's going to be 1 point. And it's not so much the 1 point that matters, but that text is very, very game warping. You have to now plan every single click. You have to structure when you're going to run. Running click 2, incredibly risky. Even something like a ping, potentially, can just end up with a tag, and that can matter if you don't have cards in hand. So you want to be running click 1, click 3. Click 4 also can be quite risky, but an upgrade in their remote server. CTZ needs to recover here. Get some cards installed to threaten that deep dive if you want to win off the Degree Mills. It's really hard, too. Like, you can false lead to stop
Deep dive.
a deep dive. It doesn't feel great because you're probably, it's like a don't lose button when you might need a win button off of that.
But we might see CTZ start to build up here, maybe try to win in those first 2 clicks on the turn.
Looks like we might have lost our picture for a second, but we're back in. Just taking 4. Oh, it's a creative commission that went through there. That is the 1 recovery card, I think, that gets CTZ back in the game financially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lat draw. Back to Captain again. Remote server with 2 ice, and CTZ's not threatening to get too much through too much of this ice. Now, some of this ice doesn't necessarily end the run, right? Like Funhouse, you can just send it if you want to, but things like Ping, you're expecting a Starlit Knight. We're on threat 4 that has text on the 2nd run back. That's the way it works.
Just install res and take credits.
Take 6, so I think you only gain 4 credits on the turn, but it does give something for CTZ to deal with. But a lot of these decks, you have a couple, Operation Econ, sometimes not even hedge funds, Judicial Life, planograms, and you really do appreciate a Regolith when you can click for 3 as many times as you want next turn.
Yeah, again, I think the interesting play here, or the interesting thought, is if CTZ is going to ignore the board state on Reality Plus until he really needs to go. Because if he runs, he is going to turn on that Oppo again. And if he turns on the Oppo, he turns on the false lead, and you're maybe in kill zone territory there.
Now, the card, uniced still, I think one of the threats also might be Gaslight. This deck, 44 cards potentially. Ooh, that's an Eka actually. Install a Trojan. This is not Arasana. That is technically a Sentry Breaker. It's a bit expensive because you have to move it and host it. I don't think you're expecting too much ice in this deck that you can overinstall, but we're bravadoing. That should go on the Satyevna, I imagine. We break it relatively well. I think it's only 2 to host and then maybe 2 for 3 subroutines. So we're going to touch here. Now this can be risky. I think this might be click 2, so if you find a Behold, you're going to be walking away with some tags at the end of your turn. It looks like just a ping off the top. Gain 7. So we know the ice that's coming up here. We haven't seen any simul chips, whether you want to over-install the Satyevna, understanding that CTZ can just take a crack. Now, the Degree Mills were entirely safe. We only have 1 installed card, so just another Spin Doctor denying here the lat draw, getting hopefully some more cards to put in the remote server. Captain Nice thinking this through. Lat can be really hard to flatline, but obviously with no cards installed,
Yep.
it can be a fair bit easier.
So that could be another thing that CTC is digging for while trying to put pressure on is potentially trying to grab some stone ships.
Yeah.
And then what are the other things that Lat will classically include to avoid kills?
Onicom, Stone Ship,
yep.
Lat's ability. Now
Yep.
that might be, well, that's the third Spin Doctor we've seen, but the second Spin Doctor so far. Like, going to be removed from the game maybe at some point, but
Yeah, so we're seeing an attitude adjustment here, actually. So those agendas are being revealed, and then Captain Nice is actually getting some credits for those.
yeah, draw 2, gain 2, functionally pay 2 to gain 4, and you can reveal agendas from archives. That Spin Doctor looks like it was protecting. That's a fly on the wall. A 3-1 agenda that came late in the FFG card pool, that you can score that out, and if you do score the 3-1, you just give the opponent a tag. Now, you can play Seamless Launch, but of course, this is Holloman. So the idea is that with Holloman, you can score this out with 1, sometimes 2 clicks left over on a turn, and that means that you can just give that 2 combination tag punishment, whether it's Mindscaping to end a line, whether it's Market Forces and Self-Growth. I'm imagining it's more on the lethal side, as much as we haven't seen anything from Captain Nice's side that wants to flatline the runner yet.
We're seeing an install on the remote. What do we think that is? Another agenda?
Imagining agenda on top of a Holloman, on top of...
It's
maybe
Clown Car.
a bluff from a virus, but even I'm a big fan of Amaze Amusements. That's a really wild tempo swing. Makes it harder to get through some of the other ice like Fun Houses. So we'll see. Just getting down a Teleware contract going to work. CTZ going to be able to click that for 3 credits for the next 3 turns.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Hollow Man can be rezzed, used, and then another Hollow Man can also be rezzed and used, correct?
You can do the double Hollow Man. It's wild on what you want to do with the combo. It means that you can... I'm not actually sure what it gets the distance to, but you can do that, yeah. The res will trash the other one. It means that you can put 6 advancements, so if you have a Beal, you can maybe get to 7. That could be relevant, but I'm assuming this deck could be on a bit of Beals for some Holloman fast advance, but otherwise here, you just want to go for that, score out really quickly, deliver the tag punishment.
Yeah, so we're seeing CTZ build up a little bit here, installing a couple of cards.
There's a Stone Ship. That's huge.
Stone Ship. Yep, that's huge. Yep.
That's +3 hand size of lands, and seeing again 2 Spin Doctors so far, it shouldn't be too hard to match hand size. And taking that 3 and just saying, if you want to send the combo now with Holloman, I should be able to be safe with enough cards in hand.
Now, I'm wondering if CTZ is going to hang back here still, even with that 1 Stone Chip on the board, and maybe try to draw into a second one. I don't know how many he may have in deck, but I believe that some of these lats are on multiples, correct?
Yes, a lot of the lat players are on all 3 as a nice way to not flatline, but also to be able to, like, if they res a Spin Doctor, you can riposte, and then suddenly get the 2 cards, then get the 3rd card. But I think the big thing here, this actually just might be a deep dive turn. We know Attitude Adjustment shuffled back in the Degree Mill. We have 2 installed cards, we have 3 installed cards, and there's only 1 server that's iced up here. So obviously there's a false lead off the top. That's orbital superiority. We're on 6 points.
Wow.
Should not be hard to close the game out with a deep dive. You don't even need to worry about the Degree Mill. Thumbs down. CDC Central Axes are generally quite good on stream. He might get a bit more powerful there, but this is going to be really easy if we have a deep dive here. It's all up to whether Captain Nice, if they're going to fire that false lead to interrupt that turn. And if that's the case, CDC can just send it back on the following.
Absolutely. CDZ has a classic, great strategy, which is touch agendas.
Here's the ping that was known off the top of the deck, if I'm not mistaken, a couple turns ago. And so here, it's a big option. Captain Nice, they're going to decide whether the false lead needs to be cracked. And there's a chance with the false lead cracked, you can do some sort of combo in the remote server to get a full flat line, but I do think with Lat on 5, Corp on 5, and the Stone Chip, it might be a bit difficult. You're going to need double Mindscaping end the line, and with 12 credits and scoring the agenda, I can't do the math quickly, but it seems like that might be a bit close on credits. I'm not sure if we have the clicks to do that.
So CTC, has he taken all of his clicks?
No, this is like the false lead waiting room, where you say, I've spent 2 clicks, anything you want to do. You always want to check for your opponent, but needing to decide here whether we just want to forfeit that 1-point agenda to stop what looks very much like a deep dive this turn, and that deep dive, it goes through, it's going to be very unlikely for CTZ not to find even a 1-pointer. This deck has a lot of 1-pointers, it seems. False leads, fly on the walls, maybe even the Oracle Think Tanks.
Notably, CTC does have 2 cards installed, so if he does see a Degree Mill, he can score that.
Yeah, totally. Sitting back, thinking this through again. You're always worried that this could be the last decision you make this game. Now, both players are still undefeated. 2 wins in the first 2 rounds, so definitely still a long day to go, but saying nothing here. We're checking archives. This is definitely a deep dive. Spin Doctor to start. Now, seeing an agenda off the top, we're going to have to shuffle some stuff back in here. Even if it's not agendas, you just want to increase the density of the deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if there's agendas and archives, you have to get them out there. So seeing what else is going to go back in, it looks like one face down and an oppo, so that might just be adding one agenda to the deck. Accessing, that's a virtual service agent. COS prizing from yesterday. Fantastic event.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. I got to play in that as well.
So now, there's the deep dive for 2 credits. This is the quest completed card.
Seeing it.
Play only if you ran every central server successfully this turn. We're going to be flipping 8 off the top. Now, this is revealed, so both players get to participate in the excitement, and CTZ is going to be definitely relishing this. Now, sometimes deep dives do whip. There's just a lot of agendas in this deck. We're going to start. There's a Behold, a YDL, and there it is. 3 cards down.
There's the GG.
Handshake between both players. Barely a 20-minute game in the remote server. Double Amaze Hollow, and it looks like a fly on the wall. So hard to assail for sure, but a lot of agendas coming through pretty quickly. Well played to both players.
Yeah, well played, well played. Captain Nice just getting unlucky off the top there. But CTZ also, I think, putting on a clinic of how not to get flustered by this deck and just focusing on the ways that you can just have these little things that prevent them from landing that kill or landing the correct pieces they need at the appropriate times. Just ducking and weaving to get out of that combo territory.
Yeah, I really appreciate the pressure, right? Like you see the false lead, the remote server, okay, I'm just going to send to centrals. And ripping that 3-pointer that early, obviously you're risking threat 3, but understanding I'm so close to a deep dive win is a pretty unfortunate spot for the corporation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, CTZ probably doing something that a lot of players classically wouldn't be loath to do against that R+, which is running aggressively. So, you know, turns out if you run aggressively against that deck, you are forcing them to have all of those combo pieces, forcing them to be set up. And even after that false lead was scored, CTZ just drawing for those right pieces, making sure, okay, if you do this, it's going to suck, but I think that I can duck around this.
Yeah. And we're going to be seeing, I think, a fair bit more Reality Plus today. It's like the second most presented deck today, which, like, going into the meta a couple months ago, we lost Bologna. That was banned out, I think, 2 ban lists ago, and NBN kind of seemed just dead on arrival at that point. But people are finding out these sort of tags, these sort of ways to pressure out these, you know, running central servers can be quite difficult. Getting the deep dive out, you find a Behold can change your plans, but if it lines up, it definitely lines up. Well played to both players.
Yeah, definitely well played. I got to say, I did not have Deep Dive Lat on my bingo card. I didn't think that these Lats were going to be running Deep Dives, so it's been really interesting to see.
Cool. Well, hey, that's round 3. We have so many more rounds today. There's 11 rounds of single-sided Swiss, and then we're back even for tomorrow before the top cut for 3 rounds more. I think this might not be the last we're seeing these 2 fantastic players, but that should be back for round 3. I think we're going to join back in a minute with a section in 4 minutes, I believe. So don't go anywhere. Thanks so much for watching. This is a Null Signal Games 2024 World Championship in San Francisco. 204 players are out here today. It's been a phenomenal weekend so far, and it's just beginning.
We'll see you later, chat.
welcome back to Worlds 2024 here in San Francisco. My name is Neuropantser, he, him, joined by Cranked, he, him, and one of the organizers of Run Together, Slapdash.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So I think we're here largely to talk about Run Together, so I'd like to start off with the obvious question. What is Run Together?
Sure. Run Together is a community-run fundraiser. We recruit, I'll say, art from the community. People make alt arts for cards. We put them together as a pack. They donate the art, put it that way, and then we sell it. We gather all that money, and then folks who would otherwise not be able to make it to Worlds can apply, and we distribute that money and help people get here.
Yeah. How did Run Together come about originally? Where's the origin of it?
Yeah, is the brainchild originally of Dan B, aka Bushi. And I think he ran it for 2 years, and then this last year, a few of us got together and like made it happen. And like big shout out to Ams because she kind of got the ball rolling, and none of the rest of us would have helped if she hadn't started it off.
Yeah. Yeah, a huge team effort, it sounds like. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'd love to know some of the impact. How many people did we help get to Worlds, or just what was some of the impact that we saw this year?
Yeah, so I think I was counting just before. I think we have helped 18 people with funds this year.
That's amazing.
With like widely varying amounts. But I was quite pleased. This year we did 2 packs, and so after the first pack, we didn't have enough money to help everybody who had applied. And between packs, a few more people applied. The second pack got us over. Everybody got to have some money, which is great.
Yeah, it's huge. We talked about how special Worlds is, Cranked, and I think a huge part of that is just having everyone here, having as many people here as possible.
Absolutely. I mean, Worlds should be for everybody, and that's what I mean. It's the together in Run Together, right? Like it sounds so goofy to say it out loud, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like without the community, you know, we're what we have together.
Yeah, and like Null Signal's big focus on like print and play, making the game accessible monetarily, whatever. I think Run Together is the community basically saying the same words back with actions.
Yeah, that is honestly, like, hearing that number of people, that's incredible. It's so awesome that we got to bring that many people to Worlds with us. If I'm someone sitting on my couch at home, or maybe watching this while I'm out somewhere, how can I help if I'm that person?
Yeah, so there's a Run Together channel in Green Level Clearance, which is we used primarily for like coordinating art. Like there's a spreadsheet, and you can pick a card and put your name next to it, and when do things need to be in by, whatever. So if you're an artist, and by the way, thank you to all the artists who donated this year your art. It really helped. So if you're an artist and you want to get involved, you can go in there. If you want to help with the logistics, you can also bring that up in there, and we would greatly appreciate that. And then we'll figure out exactly how do we want to coordinate all that work.
What if I'm maybe someone who's not able to help with the coordination but wants to help out monetarily?
Oh, yeah. I mean, buy Run Together. There's no longer pre-orders through Null Signal store, but it is up on Make Playing Cards and what's it called, the other one?
Drive-through?
Drive-through cards, yeah.
Awesome.
Both packs still.
We should probably make sure we get those links in the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat, just so that people have it right at their fingertips. But that sounds like there are multiple great ways to support this. I guess another obvious question: are we looking at more Run Together in the future? Is this something we're planning on continuing?
I hope so. My thinking is, after this, I'm going to start thinking about what next year looks like. Hopefully, we're going to lower the burden of effort for making it happen.
Yeah.
For next year. So, fingers crossed that we can do it again. But I'd like to. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any specific skill sets that would help lower that barrier?
I don't know. Somebody who's good at remembering tasks that need to be done and doing them. Somebody who doesn't have ADHD. Do we have any Netrunner players who don't? I don't know.
Really quick, just in a general sense, you touched on the community. Tell me what the Netrunner community means to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could put words to it. The Netrunner community. So I returned to the Netrunner community, having kind of missed it in the FFG days early in the pandemic. I got involved in Green Level Clearance. Everyone was so nice. I felt super welcomed in the community. And I would say a majority of my close friends, even just over that short span of time, are Netrunner friends. The local Austin community has been great. Green level clearance is often great. QTM is great. So yeah, I literally cannot say how much my life has been positively impacted by the Netrunner community.
Well, we're glad that it has. And as somebody who received funds from Run Together, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I would not be here if it was not for that money. Like, it's huge for me.
So we've heard kind of that exact testimonial from multiple people throughout the day. So I mean, even just talking with a couple people, it's obvious how important this has been. So thank you so much for all of the work here.
Of course. And, thank you to everyone else who also helped.
Yeah, absolutely.